What is going on, guys? Ultimate Deadpool here, back with another Hot Toys figure review. So now we are looking at the
Mr. Feet? Mr. Bob A. Feet?
Sure, whatever.
Boba Fett repaint armor and throne from the book of Boba Fett. Not everybody's favorite Star Wars show, I get it. But we're going to take a look at all of the stuff he comes with. So right now I have him in his ginormous box, standing alongside Hellboy and Gary the Stormtrooper, my first ever Hot Toys figure. Oddly enough, it goes Star Wars, then superhero, then Star Wars again. Whatever. We'll work around it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and clear off the table, get this box somewhat more manageable than what it is now. Real quick before we do that, on the actual box itself is a photo of the actual figure, both on the cover itself and the wraparound banner. Oh god, this thing is heavy. Oh. On the side, another shot of Boba Fett. On the back, warnings, legal information, as well as Hot Toy store locations in Hong Kong. And then on the other side, repaint armor, Boba Fett, throne room. Now, if you do have the plastic slipcover thing that these things come with, this one didn't have that because, like I said, I got this at a local comic book store. Be careful of this because otherwise this will get torn off. I've seen people have that happen to them before. So just be careful when you're trying to do something like that if that is something you're concerned about. What we're going to do now is get the box opened and see what the hell we're dealing with. Some of you guys will also argue that Boba
will make a fine addition to my collection.
On the inside of the box, more artwork. And then when you go out from there, you have the entire first look of the figure. God damn, that chair is huge. So let's go ahead and do what we did with Hellboy and the Stormtrooper and get all of his bits and pieces laid out. And we'll go through each one of them as best we can, similar to Justin's collections. Alright, so I must have gotten something confused here. I thought he was supposed to come with his holographic display stuff as well. Apparently this one does not, which is fine. You know, I don't really care about those particular pieces. But I thought all Boba Fett's came with that. I guess this one just didn't. Or it could be the fact that this was not brand spanking new. Which could be the case too, which is fine. So let's go ahead and do his display base. It's just a regular Star Wars style display base with some textures and stuff painted on top of it. Star Wars Boba Fett on it. And this is so generic it can be anywhere in the Star Wars universe. I wish they had done the Jabba / now I guess Boba's palace. That's fine that they didn't do that. And he's also got a adjustable crotch grabber as well. With his helmet, there's this piece right here for his T, I guess you could say, is actually an inserted piece. So this is not painted plastic. This is actually a different plastic inserted in it. So that way when you look at it just right, it looks like it's actually supposed to. And there's also a lot of detail and stuff on the inside of it. No, you cannot actually put it on the Tamara Morrison head sculpt. Speaking of which, this looks really good. Now, I'm not usually one who, goes, oh, they didn't have too much detail or whatever. If it looks like the character is supposed to, I don't care. This very simply just plops right onto the neck joint. The likeness to Tamara Morrison, I think, is really good. He's got some scarring and stuff from the Sarlacc pit all over there, which is actually really good considering he's a bald character. He does come with this, I guess you could say, blaster rifle or whatnot. This he had in, I believe, the original trilogy stuff. Especially, I think, like Empire and Return of the Jedi. And then this one looks more like something that Jango Fett would use, which he is actually on my list of characters to get, by the way. So if you're interested in seeing me review Jango Fett at some point, He is also on my list of characters to pick up someday. He does have a metal O-ring, so if you wanted to, you could probably put this somewhere dangling. He's also got this metal grapple hook. It's rather flexible, so I mean, and it's actually quite prickly too, so if you want to not get hurt, this simply just slots in place in his suit and makes it look like he's firing it, along with this giant Cheeto. Sorry, I couldn't help that. So, this, of course, is his flamethrower. We'll see what that looks like on him in the figure photography segment. And then he also has his jetpack with the missile that slides into his jetpack. Says slides easily, as I'm struggling. I'm not going to force that too much. I'll try to install it later. The thrusters do actuate. He doesn't come. This version does not come with any blast effects, at least not that I'm aware of. Like I said, this is as far as I know, this was not brand new, so I have no idea what he came with or what he didn't come with. I don't remember the Justin's Collection video on this guy. So if you guys want to look at that video, again, link will be in the description below, just like the Hellboy video if you want to see a more in-depth review of what this dude actually comes with. He has 2 closed fists, a finger or gun holding hand that he can twirl around his gun with, or it's actually intended for the other gun, but we'll ignore that. And then 1 trigger finger hand on the other side, plus 2 relaxed open palm hands already installed on him. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get Boba Fett himself out here and just get right into it. Real quick, before we actually get Boba Fett himself out here, we need to talk about this thing. I don't usually say this often on camera, but holy fucking shit, this thing is huge. When I watched the Justin's videos, I always undersize these things. This thing is massive. It is actually relatively hefty, and look at my hands compared to how big this thing is. This is a humongous freaking chair, and yes, I will be using this in my display box. I don't care how hard it is, it will happen. So when I have Boba Fett at the end of this video, he will be sitting in this chair holding his helmet the entire time, because he has pleather on him, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So right off the bat, this almost feels like a shampoo bottle. Almost, it feels like that vinyl-y, plasticky type stuff, but it doesn't feel cheap. It feels really hefty and sturdy, and it is very, very heavy. And it's very hefty. The Rancor teeth are actually relatively spiky. He's got the ruins or texts or whatever you want to call that on the top of the throne. This is not actually padded. This is just soft plastic, or not soft plastic, but it's just all sculpted plastic. So looks really good. This is 100% going in my display box. I will find a space to make or figure out a way to have him sitting on this seat, and then I can always repurpose this for something else, someone else later down the line. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get Boba Fett himself out here. Okay, so I did get his jetpack missile thing in. The top of the missile broke, which sucks, but you know, I can fix that, no big deal. So like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the Book of Boba Fett. I was a little irritated on what they did with that character, just turning him into essentially a joke, for lack of a better term. But I also can't deny that this is a badass look for Boba Fett, even if it is from the Book of Boba Fett. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just look at this thing. Like, this looks so good. A lot of people were complaining about the textures and the extra stuff that they do. And just like Justin, I'm a firm believer that more detail is always better. And I'll explain why here in a little bit. But just know this guy can do all kinds of crazy shit. He can pull off some really cool poses. And I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. If you wanted to have just this version of Boba Fett, you don't have to go with the humongous chair. I believe this is a separate thing that you can get. It's just called Repaint Boba Fett. Or something like that. And this will be the only representation of Boba Fett in my display box. Unless I feel like getting the original Kenner inspired Boba Fett. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get him off this rotating turntable and look at his details a little bit closer. Alright, let's start off with his bucket. Now this looks just like it did in the show, but there's a lot of excess texture, like for where he didn't sand it down. And Hot Toys' representation, he didn't sand it down or clean up the armor or whatever. He just simply painted over what was already there. And it gives it this really weird style feeling texture towards all of the armor. But like I said, the helmet looks really good. His scope finder thing for the missile does articulate, as well as his neck, so you can get a pretty good range of movement. His helmet is also adjustable, so if you wanted to have him have a really long neck, you could have it look like that. If you wanted it all the way down, he could look like that. I'm choosing to have it probably right around here, so that way you get the best of both worlds. And then on coming back to his back, this just holds on with a magnet. So real quickly, like I did say, I did get his missile in. It was a very tight fit, and as I went to go put the final tweak in it, the entire top half of the missile came off. Not a big deal. The glue just came undone. Very easy to fix. I'm not too worried about it. I'm never going to be removing this missile anyway. Like I said, he doesn't come with any blast effects, but if he did, they would fit into those ports there. The overall design and feel of the jetpack feels really good. There's a magnet back there. There's even some... And again, I've seen people complain about this for the longest time. All of this is supposed to be freshly repainted and whatnot. I don't care. It looks good enough as is. And, you know, all the shoulder pads feel great. The whole suit is fabric. So you can go all out with posing. At least up here and in his legs. But just know that his belt and his holster is pleather. So it will eventually degrade, it will eventually fall apart, and it will eventually look like crap. Then he's also got the Mythosaur skull, Bounty Hunter logo, or Mandalorian logo on his shoulder. He does also have his traditional Boba Fett knee pads, one that has a dent, one that does not, or one that has a dent on one side, one has a dent on the other side. His pants are extremely baggy. He almost looks like the genie, or a genie. And then this little piece right here can come out. It's supposed to be for the hologram projector thing, which, like I said, I don't think mine actually came with. I looked through all the boxes and all the packaging. I couldn't find anything. So my guess is this particular version just didn't come with one, or because I got it at a comic book store, whoever had this guy before me took it and just didn't give it back to the people who sold it to me, which is fine. You know, I didn't really care for those particular holograms. But, like I said, if you want a more in-depth video, I'll put a link to Justin's collection video in the description. So, back to Boba Fett. His whole armor has that weird texture, style, feel of it's all sculpted. Like, it's not... This isn't painted. This is all sculpted into the armor pieces itself. It almost feels like it's just like how you would paint rust. If you saw rust on a car and then you painted that car, but didn't sand down the body, that's what it would feel like. If that's the best way I can describe it. His flight vest and his, I guess, skirt flap thingies. All that was all fabric. Let's see. His belt looks badass. This part is all interwoven and weaved with these plastic pouches. No, these don't actually function. They're on the pleather belt. I did go ahead and put his Jango Fett style pistol in his holster. That's going to stay like that probably permanently. Really, there's not much else I can talk about. I'm not good at these type of reviews, so if you want more in-depth, like I said, check out the video in the link in the description. Let's go ahead and see what he looks like with his Tamara Morrison head sculpt on. Okay, so as I went to go figure out how the hell to switch out the head, yeah, this guy had hologram effects that came with it originally. Mine, I guess, just didn't. I don't know if that's because this was used or if it was brand new and they just forgot to add it to the box. But yes, unfortunately, he did not come with the hologram pieces, which is fine. You know, I'm not too worried about that. I just would be nice to have had those, but no, it looks like they either forgot it or whoever had this before. My local comic book store had it. They simply just did not add it back into the box. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't really care. I just think it's kind of funny that they didn't give me those pieces. Okay, so that was a humongous pain in the ass. I don't know if it's just me, but trying to remove this secondary neck to get to the Tamara Morrison head sculpt was a bitch. I don't know if it was just me or not, but this was a rival pain in the ass. So I will probably never be changing it, and I'll just have him looking like this, standing in his chair. Because, holy crap, it was a bitch. I cannot express that enough. So, this looks really good. This looks just like Tamara Morrison as Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett, standing in front of me, shrunken down, 1/6 scaled. This looks great. It was just getting to this point that was a bitch, but we'll ignore that fact. So, the people always talk about the likenesses and whatnot to actors and what for head sculpts that Hot Toys and stuff do. It looks close enough for me. I'm happy with it. This looks fine. Like I said, he's probably going to be looking just like this, holding his helmet in the display case on his throne. No problem. This works just fine for me. And if I wanted to, I could always pop on his flamethrower Cheeto on this side if I really wanted to go all out with it. But I may just go ahead and just do something simple and have him sitting in his chair looking just like this. So let's go ahead and just get on to the articulation side, and then we'll go ahead and finish out this video with the figure photography afterwards. Okay, we'll start off with his regular helmeted head. It's on a separate foam piece with a double ball joint in the middle of the neck, so he goes forward and back relatively quickly, and tons of pivot side to side, and all kinds. You can get basically a whole bunch of really funky gestures, for a lack of a better term. We'll go ahead and take the jetpack off so we don't break anything. Just regular, his arms go up to there. They go out to there. There's a swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow, going way past 90, all the way to the full way. There's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. A regular 1/6 scale wrist peg for his wrist. Same thing on the other side. Then his torso goes forward to about there. Goes back about there. It does get a little bit gappy, but this is all adjustable anyway. And then his legs go to about there. Go out to about there. His legs bend all the way back, way past 90 on nice sturdy ratchets. And then his shoes, it's a split cut boot design with a ball joint, so it's good for forward and back, side to side, and up and down. So really good. And then with the Tamara Morrison head sculpt, it is a fixed neck, so looks down to there, up to about there, and pivot side to side, and obviously swivel. And then obviously this just connects on with the magnet. So now let's go ahead and finish out this video with the final shot before we get into the figure photography. Alright, finishing out today's video with Boba Fett. And one final pose. This is probably the pose he's going to be rocking in my display case. But like I said, I'll still do the figure photography stuff at the end of this. Just know that this is probably going to be the final pose in that. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, this is how he's probably going to look like. So right now he's just kind of swiveling around on the rotating turntable. If you guys like Book of Boba Fett or just Boba Fett in general and you want Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett, this guy is the guy to get. He's cool. Not the show, but the figure itself is really good. The chair itself is massive, but if you have room in your display case for it, it's a worthy accessory for him. It's not the most practical thing in the world, but it's not the worst thing ever. So let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. And if you guys have this guy, let me know what you guys think of yours. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the figure photography.